Dear respected Thai, dear beloved community, good morning. Today is the 7th of December in the year 2023, and we're in the full moon meditation hall of New Hamlet on a lay day during the rains retreat. So I haven't counted the days, but I think we're about halfway through, right? About. Yeah. The way I count is in the Brothers Hamlet. There's a tradition. I don't know when it started exactly, but already for the last few years, brothers have a kind of midway point break. I think you get two lazy days in the middle of the rains retreat instead of one. Every Monday is a lazy day in Plum Village, but I think brothers have extra lazy Tuesday halfway through, right? That was last week, right? Yeah, this week, just this Tuesday. Okay, so that means we have just passed the halfway point. Yeah, no comparison. It's okay. Yeah. And I think we're also entering the holiday season. We're in December. And in many different spiritual traditions, we have different holidays that bring us together. Here in Plum Village, we have the tradition of celebrating Advent. And it's very interesting because it's a Buddhist community. Maybe it's the last thing you expect. Even for our monastics who come from a Christian background, many of them, they didn't really have the tradition of celebrating Advent until they came to Plum Village. And last Sunday was the first Advent, and a group of brothers and sisters came together to have dinner together, and also to have some share stories from their childhood, how they used to spend Christmas with their family. It's an opportunity for us to get to know each other and each other's tradition and culture. And we also have some sharing about the theme of each Advent. So the first Advent was hope, and the second one is peace, and the third is joy, and the fourth is love. And at the end of Advent evening, we also come together to practice Christmas carols. Because we also have, believe it or not, Buddhist monks and nuns. We go around the neighborhood to offer Christmas carols for our neighbors. And some neighbors, they are surprised. It's like last thing they expect. And then there are others. In the past, when we visited some of our neighbors who are not our practitioners in our tradition, they open the door suspiciously to see like a dozen monks and nuns with bald head, with candles in their hand. But there's been times when we sang some simple Christmas songs for them in kind of harmony. We try to sing in 4-part harmony. We're not always successful, but we try. And some of them, they just, they were so moved. They broke down in tears because they said they have never experienced something like that. And some of them, they said, oh, I haven't experienced. There was a couple from England. They said they haven't experienced this since they were children. It's a tradition that's lost in most part of the world. So it's nice that we can bring back this tradition for this area around Plum Village. But nowadays, in more and more friends who are practitioners in the tradition, they are starting to move to this area. So it's like we know everybody who live around here, and also we don't have time to go to all the houses. So we ask all of our friends who are living around here to come together. We said, okay, we're gonna come to this house at 7 p.m. So if you want to hear Christmas carols, please come. So that's how we organize. And we also have the tradition of offering spring rolls to our neighborhood, and then also to friends, as far as some of our friends that we work with, and we bring them to Bordeaux, Marmande, Saint-Foy-la-Grande. Yeah, this is just an occasion for us to express our gratitude for supporting our community throughout the year. Yeah, so I hope you have a chance to, no matter which hamlet you are in, I hope you have a chance to contribute your hands in making spring rolls. It's a skill. It's not always easy in the beginning, but it's a very good skill you can bring back home, and you can surprise your families, offer them. Anything deep fried is welcome, right? So, yeah. So if you want to offer something concrete, that's one thing that's loved by everyone. It's very universal. Yeah, and this year we also had a new celebration of Diwali. I don't know if Diksha is here in the hall. Yeah, Diksha, hi. Yeah, because we have a brother who is from India, and he's been in our center in Thailand for a few years, and he came back to France, so he organized an evening of Diwali festival that was also very beautiful. So that was in November, and we have 4 Advent Sundays. And I know our Dutch friends, they are celebrating tonight Santa Claus. So that's also an annual tradition. And some other years, we also had a celebration of Saint Lucia from Nordic Swedish tradition, I believe. Yeah. How many of you celebrate Saint Lucia? A good number, great. Yeah, so I hope you find a moment to come together to celebrate this joyful day. And also Hanukkah, yeah, we had in the past, we also celebrated Hanukkah. And I think no matter which tradition we come from, we see that something that is common in all of these festivals is the presence of light. It's a festival of light. And one of my sisters, she lovingly prepared these Advent candles for today. Also Diwali, we had a lot of candle lights in the transformation hall, and it was very beautiful. There's something about the light that brings us together, creates warmth and coziness. And it's something that we all need in today's world. There's so much happening, there's so much suffering in the world. And we all need to remember to keep the light lit in our heart. And our teacher Tai, used to say that we are so happy for all of you to come here to practice, to learn Buddhism, and to learn the art of mindful living. But we really don't want you to convert and to become a Buddhist. I mean, if you like to call yourself Buddhist, and that's fine, but we are not caught in the name. And we really hope that each one of us, we have a beautiful spiritual tradition that we are born into, and that is something we cannot take outside from us. It's not something that we can remove from us. It's something that's very, very deep in each one of us. And yeah, it is our practice to learn the art of mindfulness so that we can learn how to come back to ourselves, and so we can be connected to our own roots, our blood ancestors and our spiritual ancestors, to find ourselves, rediscover ourselves, instead of learning about Buddhism to accumulate, to learn something new and to become something new. But we use the teaching in order to come back to our own roots and rediscover all the beautiful wisdom that has been transmitted to us from our ancestors. Yeah, so this season of holidays, I hope we can all take a moment to reflect on this, to see all the beautiful qualities that's been transmitted to us in our spiritual tradition or also in our family as we come together. Because holiday season, it's not all about joy, 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 and happiness, right? I think some of you might be feeling a little bit of anxiety, knowing that after this retreat, whether next week or in 2 weeks, yeah, you might be going home to be with your family members. And holiday season, it's a beautiful season of love and light and giving and generosity. But at the same time, realistically, we also know that it's the time of the year. A lot of strong emotions are stirred up in us from our past memories, maybe some past traumas, and also knowing that all the things that's happening in the world at the moment with all the wars, is it okay for us to just enjoy and be happy? So we all have kind of mixed feeling about how to practice in this season. I think for some people, it also waters the seed of loneliness, disconnection, or depression. But I think all of us who are in this hall, we can be happy that you have, no matter how your situation is at home with your blood family, you have a second family, which is here. This is your spiritual family who can support you and offer you love and care. And so we know that we are very fortunate to have each other. So maybe we can take just one moment. If you like, you can close your eyes. We can come back to our body, come back to our heart. And just to notice what is present in us when we think of holiday seasons coming together with our loved ones. Are there anybody who is dear to us in our heart that we want to reconcile with? And how do I envision the holiday season for it to be a happy one for myself and for the other person? And what is it that I really want to offer for myself and for the other person? Something that cannot be bought with money. What do I really want? For me to feel content. We can listen to one sound of the bell. Thank you. And we can hold whatever that came up in our heart as we share this session this morning. And I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to share yet, but I'm hoping to go in the direction of kind of a mindful survival guide to the holiday season. And I don't know what came up in your heart as you were asking yourself, what is it that I really wish for? For me, I think the four themes of the Advent, hope, love, joy, and peace, they are a very important element that keeps me happy and something that gives me energy to live each day in the direction I want to live in. And yesterday in New Hamlet, we practiced the guided meditation called metta meditation. I think many of you you all know this practice. Have you all practiced this metta meditation? Yeah, this is a practice that dates back to the Buddha's time, where we cultivate and all these beautiful qualities of love, peace, safety in ourselves. And we wish ourselves well, and also we send the energy. We wish all of these good wishes to the people we love, and then after to people that we feel neutral about. And at the end, we also send the energy to the people we think are the cause of our suffering. And this is a guided meditation we practice quite often here in Plum Village. And I know some monastics as well, lay practitioners, have shared that they have really made this into a daily practice. And I think it's a very, very beautiful practice, because as a practitioner, if we want peace or love or joy or hope, all these qualities, we don't pray to somebody outside of ourselves. We don't pray to the Buddha on the Buddha altar, or we don't pray to the God who's living up in the sky, or we don't pray to the universe for this energy to be given to us. We don't wait for that to come to us. But as a practitioner of mindfulness, even if you have just started practicing, you can be confident that you can actually generate these energies in ourselves of peace, love, harmony, joy, and so on. And this is something we can do in every moment of our daily life. And practicing guided meditation, it's one way to proactively generate these energies. But there are also other ways we can generate these energies, because it's also possible that if we don't stop and look deeply, which are the two basic elements of meditation, samatha, vipassana. Samatha is stopping, and vipassana is deep looking. So if you're just stopping and saying these words to ourselves, just, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, like a mantra. But if you are not really looking deeply to see the roots of our suffering, why is it that I'm not happy? Why is it that I don't feel peaceful? We might be kind of spiritual bypassing. We are not going deep enough. So it depends on where you are at in your practice. If we feel like, okay, all I can do right now is just practice these mantras so that I can cultivate, I can be in touch with the peace of energy of peace and compassion and so on, that's okay. But if you also want to go deeper, there are so many other ways we can cultivate these energies in different practices. And this is a great gift that we can offer for ourselves, and we can also offer to our loved ones and for the world. So since the first theme of Advent is hope, I'd like to share a little bit about how we can cultivate the energy of hope. I remember our teacher, Trai, used to say, losing hope is the worst thing that can happen to a person. And this is coming from somebody who lived through many years of atrocious war in Vietnam. And one time in the mid-1960s, during the war in Vietnam, our teacher, he created a group called School of Youth for Social Service. It was hundreds of thousands of young people coming together to help the country, to rebuild the country. So in a way, we can think of them as our spiritual ancestors. They were great practitioners with so much courage, determination, and love for their country. And it's thanks to them that Trai has developed many of the practices that we are still practicing today. Yeah. So this group of young youth activists, they would go to rebuild villages that were bombed. And there was one particular village called Chalok in the Quang Tri province. It's about, if you know where Hue, it's a central Vietnam where our teacher comes from. So about an hour north of Hue, that was a demilitarized zone. So that was the border between the north and south of Vietnam. And it was suspected that many guerrillas were hiding in this village. So this village, where, like any other village with the families, innocent civilians, they were living there, but it just got bombed, completely destroyed by the American what do you call it? The fighter planes. And the village was destroyed, so of course the members of the SYSS, and they went to rebuild the village. And the village, I don't know how long it took them, months, a year, to rebuild the village. And they went back to more or less normal way of living. They could live peacefully. And then, right after the village was rebuilt, it was bombed again, second time. It was very terrible, and the youth activists, they said, what can we do? And we just rebuilt it, and it was bombed again. And Trai said, yeah, we just rebuilt. What else is there to do? So they rebuilt it again. And then the same thing happened third time. And after it was bombed 3 times, all the youth activists, they felt so much despair. And they went to Trai and said, look, we did this already 3 times. It's no use. No matter how many times we rebuild this village, it's just going to be bombed again and again. And we have no more energy to do it. And Trai, after contemplating for a long time, said, no, we must rebuild again, because if we stop rebuilding, that means we have given up. That means we have allowed despair to overtake us, and we cannot lose hope. And that is why maybe it will be bombed again, but we rebuild it again so that we don't lose hope in our heart, so that people don't lose hope in their heart. So they rebuilt again. So I think many of us, maybe not directly in the war zone, might have experienced something where we have tried again and again. Maybe in the relationships where you felt like you tried to rebuild the relationships over and over, and you failed, and we just want to give up. nothing seems to work. But we want to keep the light, the glimmer of hope alive in our heart. Because the fact that we feel like, oh, I'm feeling hopeless, that means we're feeling there's a darkness that's kind of pervading in our mind. But the fact that we can be aware, oh, right now I'm feeling hopeless, or I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling this dark energy inside of me. The fact that we can be aware of it means that there's also light. There's the light of mindfulness that is available in us, that helps us to see, for us to be aware what's happening inside of us. So just the fact that we can be aware that I'm really not feeling well, I'm feeling despair, feel like I'm in the middle of depression, I don't feel any hope. Just the fact that we can be aware, that we can have confidence in that very, very tiny light that we have in ourselves. And as long as we don't allow that light to completely blown away, as long as we keep that light, no matter how small that is, we know it has the potential to become bigger. And we have learned over and over in different Dharma talks, in this Rains retreat, about non-duality of left and right manifesting together, happiness and suffering manifesting together. And that is the same with the darkness and light. As long as there's darkness, that means the light is also there at the same time. We don't wait for the light to appear. We know that, yes, I recognize there's darkness in my heart, in my mind. But that also means knowing that the the light is also present, even if we cannot see it very clearly in this very moment. So our practice is to have the confidence, to trust the light is there, it's always there, no matter how small. And by cultivating our energy or mindfulness in a daily practice, we can make the light to glow, also to grow and glow bit by bit. And I discovered recently that there's a term in the kind of trauma-informed mindfulness. There's a term that's used, it's a glimmer, maybe some of you know. I think we often talk about trigger, right? Like, oh, she triggers me, or oh, I feel triggered. You know, these little things that, the inputs that comes from outside that stirs up strong emotion in us, that makes us react. These are the triggers. But opposite of triggers, they're glimmers. Have you heard that term? No? It's still kind of new. So instead of having triggers, we can practice to collect more glimmers or produce more glimmers in our life. Glimmer is like a glimmer of hope, glimmer of light. It's a sparks, the small lights that are present in our heart and all around us. Okay, can you see this board? It's okay? Yeah. So, we have... Okay, that's a hand. So, your being, we have 5 doors that allow us to be in touch, to be in contact with the outside world. We have our eyes, nose, ears, that's a mouth, And our touch, not only hands, but our any kind of touch that we feel. So we call them the 5 sense organs. And we can be in contact with 5 sense objects. So through our eyes, when we see something, let's say, like this morning, how many of you saw this beautiful red sunrise sky? Yeah, it was so beautiful. So let's see, we see the sunrise. That makes us feel, oh wow, the world is so beautiful. So you can call that a glimmer instead of a trigger, something we see that makes us feel good, that brings joy and peace in our heart. So for example, we look at the beautiful sunrise that goes in through our eyes. And this morning, I had a very nice cup of cappuccino. Soy milk cappuccino. So, and then I smell, every morning when I smell the smell of coffee, it makes me feel so happy. So that is a glimmer for me. Yeah. And then we hear something that's very pleasant. For example, like kind of music that is you like to hear. So through the ears, we can experience the sound of the nature, sound of the bird, sound of the ocean wave, nature sound, and so on. We have sound glimmers. And through your mouth, I don't know, what is your favorite food? Chocolate. Yes, always chocolate. Somebody always says chocolate. Right? Chocolate. Yeah, okay. That's a bar of chocolate. So when we taste something, we feel so happy. That's also a glimmer. And touching something, let's say, I think we all like fluffy things, right? Fluffy animals. Yeah, let's say, a fluffy animals. A cat or a dog, I don't know. Sorry, I cannot draw. Okay, so when we touch something that's fluffy and soft and warm, that also makes us feel relaxed, happy. So these, we can call them the glimmers, right? And then we have the triggers. So triggers can be the opposite of glimmers. So things that we see, let's say that we hear a sound of, let's say, your mother-in-law nagging. I don't know. I joke often to say, like, living in because some of you are considering monastic path. So living in a community is like living like with like 40 or 50 mother-in-laws, because everybody has particular way of cooking rice or how carrots should be cut. So just so you know, if you're considering, and this is part of a training to be very happy and peaceful when we get 40 different instructions of how carrots should be cut. So that's, I don't know how to draw that, but that could be, yeah. So that's, yeah, really, I don't know what to draw. Okay, so I'm just saying that's a trigger. Let's say you hear sound that makes us reactive. Also, you see something. Maybe when you see something on the news, violence, something that's very unpleasant, that's also comes in through our eyes as a trigger. Also the smell, unpleasant smell, also can be a trigger. Yeah. And also when you taste something unpleasant, rotten food, yeah, it could be a trigger. And when you touch something, or sometimes when you don't want to be touched and somebody violates your personal boundary and they are not mindful, they just walk right by you, they bump into you or something. So that could be also kind of, yeah, a trigger. So every day we're in contact with the outside world, and whatever that makes us feel and relaxed and happy, those we can consider them to be glimmers, and whatever that makes us feel tense and uncomfortable, touches of some strong emotions. You can call them triggers. So in I think the trauma therapy is becoming more and more mainstream, and often we are advised to collect glimmers to know what makes you happy and identify them and try to collect them. But the problem is that if we are always dependent on outside conditions to make us happy, we cannot really keep our peace and calm and happiness all the time, because it really depends on whether you are able to locate that fluffy kitten that you really need to feel safe and relaxed. Maybe here, we don't have any kittens and we cannot, bookshop is closed, I cannot buy the piece of chocolate that I really need, and so on. Some days, you don't have coffee. Some days there's no beautiful sunrise because it's raining the whole day, and so on. So as a practitioner of mindfulness, we don't want to always depend on outside conditions. So when we are awake and we are aware of what's happening outside of ourselves, we can always recognize all the conditions of happiness right away. We don't let them pass by. For example, the sunrise this morning, looking at the beautiful sunrise will make you feel good. So I'm very grateful to my sister. I was sitting at my desk and a sister came in. She said, "Oh, look at the sky. Did you see the sky?" And immediately, many of us, we went out to be nourished by this beautiful sunrise. So whenever the conditions there, we make ourselves available for that, to experience that happiness. Same with the full moon or starry skies. These things are there for us. Very often, I don't want to say every day, because it depends on the weather. But yeah, all these conditions of happiness are all around us, but the problem is that we are so lost in our thinking, or we think the happiness lies somewhere in the future, not in this present moment, so we are blinded, we are not able to see them. So the basic practice of mindfulness, of coming back to the present moment, is to make ourselves be available for all these wonderful conditions that are already present. And at the same time, yes, we recognize their presence, but we are not dependent on them. We don't crave them. And we don't say, "Oh, I'm in bad mood today because it's raining today," right? So it's not, our happiness doesn't depend entirely on the outside conditions, because these are the 5 sense organs, but we have 6 consciousness. These are the first 5 consciousnesses, and we have the 6th one, which is our mind. I will put here. This is the Chinese character for mind. Yeah. So if you want to think of it up here, the mind, that is another window or door for us to receive, to produce and also receive information. And it is said that for most average people have 60,000 thoughts a day. So we are producing 60 different kinds of thoughts in a day. And our mood, our feelings, our emotions also depend on what kind of thinkings we are producing for ourselves, for us to consume. And when we are not practicing, even though I think I don't know if anybody can actually identify all 60,000, but we can recognize more and more when we're more mindful. And we recognize that most of our thinkings, they are quite useless. If they're useless, that's also okay. But the worst part is that most of our thinking, like I don't know if I can say most, at least half of our thinking, they tend to make us feel not so happy, right? Some voices of criticism or what's not going right in our life or in other people, looking at the situation, looking at other people. Why did they say that? Oh, how can he say that to me? That was not nice. And even if it's something that happened once in the past, we have a tendency to repeat them over and over and over. Yeah. So when we are practicing mindfulness, we are able to catch these thoughts that are not conducive to our own well-being, and we are able to switch channel right away. And this is something you can also find in sutras. And there's one sutra. The Buddha was he was invited by a lay practitioner who was very skeptical, and he criticized everything what the Buddha said. He challenged the Buddha and also called him all kinds of names. It's interesting because he seemed to have really hated Buddha, but he kept coming to his teachings to listen to his teachings and just criticizing this and that. And he was not a very happy person, I guess. And then he kept. I think in deep down, I think he wanted the Buddha's attention in a way, and I think some students are like that, right? Some students are very good at winning the love and attention from the teacher by being good students. Other students, they just create a lot of trouble. So he was doing everything possible to provoke and to make the Buddha angry and to see reaction from the Buddha. But Buddha never got angry. And somebody said to the Buddha, like, how can you stay so calm? How come you're not angry? And the Buddha said, if somebody comes over, you invite somebody to your home for dinner, and before they leave, you offer them a gift for them to bring home. But the person said, no, thank you, I don't want to take this gift back home. And then what happens to that gift? And the Buddha says, the gift, if he doesn't take it, then it stays with you, right? So it's the same thing with anger. Somebody offers you anger, but it's really up to you to take that anger as a gift from the person, or to say, no, thank you, I don't want it. So that is something in the season of a gift exchange we can contemplate on this koan. Yes, there are a lot of people who can say and do things that irritate us or annoy us or makes us feel angry, trigger us. But we can see, maybe these people, we only make others suffer because we ourselves have the suffering, and our suffering spill over to outside of ourselves. So if somebody is saying some words that are not pleasant to listen to, first of all, we can have compassion for them. And we also have the power to receive those words or not. When somebody is offering you these words of violence, words of anger, it's really up to us to receive that or not. We can decide. And in Asian tradition, we like to use the image of a lotus leaf. I don't know if you've been here in the summer. You see the lotus leaf in the lotus pond in all the Hamlet. They're very big leaves. And they have something that is kind of waterproof on the surface. So when you see, it's very beautiful to watch. You see the rain falling on the lotus leaf. And the rain turns into a little crystal pebble, and it moves around on the leaf, and it falls off the leaf. And when you touch the surface of the lotus leaf, it's completely dry. So that's the image we like to use when we receive something from others that we don't like to keep for ourselves. We don't let it stick. We don't. Yeah, we have the power to just I'll just let it slide off. If you like, you can also use the image of a duck feather. When you see ducks swimming in the pond, you can see how the water just slips off the feather. So we can all practice like that, not to let things that we don't like, the things that makes us unhappy, stick, and have that layer as a protective boundary, so that we can keep our freedom, peace, and calm, and happiness. And I think some of us might be going home and thinking like, oh, I hope I don't end up arguing with my family members at dinner table over Christmas, because we hold very polarizing view on this issue and that issue. Yeah, so we can remember that everybody has the right to have their own view, depending on where they come from, the education they received. And sometimes, even among our loved ones, we have polarizing views. Even here in Plum Village community, brothers and sisters, we hold different political views, but still we are able to live with each other and love each other as members of one big family, of a spiritual family. Yeah, so please don't let all these views about different issues that's happening in the world. It's important to care for them. We don't want to become indifferent. We care these issues. That's why we feel emotions around it. But still, we remember what's most important. And to have each other, to have family and friends, that's the most important thing. And if we don't know how to create peace in our family, there's not much chance that we can be an instrument of peace for the world. So we start with those who are closest to us. So if we can listen to one sound of the bell. So today we started a little bit late, so I hope it's okay to go a little bit over time, past 11. Yeah, thank you. So I think we started talking about hope, and now we're talking about peace, how we can cultivate peace in ourselves. And I think we all have been able to be peaceful at times. Like, for example, right in this moment, you look very peaceful sitting there. And yeah, it's very easy to touch peace when we are not bothered by the situation outside of ourselves, and we are not triggered by other people. But we need to remember that practice of meditation, it is not an escape from all the things that's happening outside. We don't meditate in order to forget or in order to block out, to create a zone of safety just for yourself by collecting the conditions you need. But actually, it's the opposite. Yes, we need that quiet space, safe space for us to look deeply. But in the process of looking deeply, meditating, we discover more about ourselves, and we practice so that no matter what kind of condition we are in, we can continue to be in that zone of peace and calmness, and also clarity, so we can continue to have the clarity of our mind, so we know what to do, what not to do in different situations, what to say, what not to say, in order to bring more happiness and peace rather than adding to more suffering. Because I think we all have the intention to create more peace in the world, but because we don't have enough energy or mindfulness to stop us from reacting the way we react in certain situations, we end up doing or saying things that bring suffering for other people or for ourselves, and things that we regret after that's already been done. So each one of us, we have our comfort zone, and that's something that we need to feel safe, to feel at peace. And that could be a physical space. We have conditions, and now I think many of you are sharing rooms, so you probably talk to each other. For me to feel safe and comfortable, I need this, and we try our best to support each other to create that zone of comfort, so we can be at home where we are staying. And what happens is that outside of that comfort zone, we feel like there's a world that is unknown, or maybe we might even perceive it as danger. And when our emotions are triggered, when we are forced to step out of our comfort zone, and that's not only in the physical space, but also when somebody asks you to do something that you don't feel comfortable doing, or also food is a trigger, because as human being, we all have this innate need to survive, and when our living space and also the food we consume, those things are challenged, it's very easy for us to feel triggered or feel activated. That's also why we also say that before going to any difficult meetings, it's better that you're not hungry. You make sure you eat, because when we're feeling already hungry, your survival instinct is activated, and it's very easy to be triggered in different meetings. So it's good that our stomach is full and we had a good night's sleep. And here, as a practitioner of mindfulness, what we are doing is that we are trying to expand this zone of comfort, so we don't have this fence or wall around us that is solid and permanent. With our practice, daily practice of mindful breathing, coming back to our body, mindful walking, eating in mindfulness, practicing total relaxation, sitting meditation, all these practices we're doing together here, it is for us to slowly expand this zone of comfort. And this zone of comfort, it's safe, it's from let's see, maybe this is where you feel completely safe, but then you also have this layer around the zone of energy that is your own. Let's see. So when we are generating this energy of mindfulness with our own practice, we are being protected. This point that is the self, that we think is the self, but it is not really. It's a delusional self, but we feel like we need to protect this self and we need this comfort zone. But with the practice, we can slowly expand, and you have this zone of mindfulness. And we have a wonderful lay Dharma teacher in our tradition in California. Her name is Joan Rosen, and she's also a psychotherapist. And she calls this the zone. No, she calls it the window of mindful opportunity, and that is kind of a spin-off from window of tolerance. For those of you who know the work of Dan Siegel, so there is this kind of space where we can feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's outside of your comfort zone, and you are having emotions. You are having anger or sadness and so on. But still, you know it is contained within your zone of mindful energy, so you still feel safe to explore. And this is the area where we want to have the courage to go into in our practice, because if you are always practicing in order to protect this very small comfort zone for yourself, our mind cannot expand and our consciousness cannot expand, and we are stuck where we started. So practicing means we want to rediscover our true self, to go outside of the comfort zone, but without completely. If you suddenly go out here, you might feel overwhelmed by the feeling of danger, feeling of this emotion that we don't know how to handle. But as long as we're feeling all kinds of emotions within our energy or mindfulness, and it is safe. It might not feel completely comfortable, but still it is a safe zone. And this is something that we can all support each other in our practice. Because there are days we are not feeling well and we feel like our own energy or mindfulness is not very strong. And maybe we feel like we can't come outside of our room. Maybe we just want to stay in your bed. You don't want to see all these people. But if we just allow a little bit of courage to come up and allow yourself to jump into this river of mindful energy, of collective practice, and then you can take refuge in this energy that is produced by your friends and your co-practitioners. And that's how we can slowly open up this zone. So if this is you practicing to open up your zone, you have somebody else over here also practicing, somebody else practicing also to open up this zone of mindful energy. And then this is how we can slowly share and generate and to create some kind of change in the world. Because this is also a concern that we receive often from our friends, is that I feel kind of selfish just being here, practicing for myself, taking care of myself, when there is so much suffering there is outside. I feel like there's so much more that I should be doing or I could be doing, but I don't know exactly what. But this is the energy that we cannot see in our eyes, but I think we can all feel. If we are mindful, we can feel this energy, and this energy that we are all co-producing, co-creating. This is very powerful, And then even if your sphere of influence is very small, if you can practice like this with hundreds of friends, also when after this retreat, when you go back home, when you're practicing with your local sangha, when you're practicing together with your online Zoom sanghas, and we are constantly creating, generating this energy, and that is very, very powerful. And it's also for people who are not practicing, they're able to come and take refuge in this energy. So please don't underestimate your own power of practice, knowing how much energy that you can generate. And this is where, does this work? Yeah, okay. And we often hear the three kinds of energies that we produce as a practitioner, which is the mindfulness, concentration, and insight, something we heard many, many times, right? And it's the smriti, samadhi, prajna you see on the stained glass at the entrance of Upper Hamlet. And this is called the three studies. And it's something that's, it's a common thread in every school of Buddhism. Cannot, right? Okay, let's try this one. So it's called okay. So it's a mindfulness, concentration, and insight. These three energies that we are producing through our practice. And this energy of insight, it's something that we need to take refuge in our own energy of insight. So when we need to decide what to do, what not to do, whether a big decision about our career change or something about like which Dharma sharing group to go this afternoon, for example. We want to act from the place of your own insight. It's not because somebody else said that you should do this, or you try to accumulate all the knowledge that you have, you listen to, and maybe you can collect 10 Dharma talks and enter them into ChatGPT and ask for the best solution to a problem. It doesn't work like that. I don't know, I've never tried, but let's see. And for me, when I need to decide something, I come back to my body to tap into my own energy of insight, to my own inner wisdom. And by when I say coming back to my body, I can feel how the decision feels in my body. And if it is based, whatever I do or I say is based on the insight of interbeing, or the right view that we've been hearing so much about, what is the right view? It just means for me, this energy that's going outward, when I feel the expansiveness in my body and mind, that the feeling of expansiveness in my consciousness, I feel like it's the right thing. When I have done something, and if it's the right action, I feel my body and mind expanding. And on the contrary, if I'm not acting from a place of insight, and the energy feels contracting, like going inwards, so the movement is going smaller and smaller, smaller, I feel this tension in my body, and also tension in my mind, and I feel like I'm acting from a place of protecting something. And I know that when I'm in that mode, I am caught by the delusion of believing that there's a separate self that I need to protect, rather than trusting that yes, there's interbeing, I am not a separate self. But when I'm in this self-preservation mode and the energy goes inward and somehow my view is blurred, I cannot think clearly. So this is something that I'd like to invite us all to pay attention to whenever you decide to do something or say something, or before and also after having done something or having said something. How does it feel in your body? How does your body feel? As an example, so recently, so before the Rains retreat, every year we have this 90-day Rains retreat. And once a year, the sisters, we change our rooms because we have a precept about not being attached to certain rooms or certain roommate. So everybody have to come to this meeting and we choose a room and new roommates. It's the most exciting meeting of the whole year. Yeah. It's one meeting like nobody wants to miss, right? So after some discussion and actually, in New Hamlet, we have a very joyful way. It's not by seniority, although we assign Dharma teacher in each room because we want to make sure there's an elder sister. But after that, everybody just, it's a lottery. You pick a number. I know that we're not supposed to gamble, but this is the only time of the year that we gamble. So you come and you pick a number. And even if you're the youngest sister, if you pick number 1, you get to pick your room first, and so on. And you go all the way from, this year we have 40 sisters, so it's very exciting. And it's a fun process. And we choose our rooms and we settle in 1 week before the Rains retreat start. We settle into a room, we meet a roommate, we drink tea together, and we discuss how do we want to, about the window open, close, when do we want to turn on the heat, all these things. We talk to each other to create a comfortable atmosphere that is supportive for our practice. But from time to time, what happens is like, 2-3 weeks into the Rains retreat, we receive a request into our office from a nun from another tradition who would like to come and stay in Plum Village, and she's coming next week. Where is she gonna stay, right? And as practitioners, we all know somehow we need to come together into a meeting, and we need to decide harmoniously where this unknown sister will be in. If it's a sister we already know, like who's gone to another center and who needs to come back here for some work or whatever reason, and it's very easy because we know this sister. So like, she can be in my room, or if you know that you don't get along, you can say like, she can go to another room. But it's very easy, but it's very tricky when you don't know this person, coming from another tradition. And we don't know their practice, we don't know what they're like, do they even speak English? Many questions. And we have to find a bed for her in one of our rooms. And the interesting thing is that if the request had come in before Rain's retreat, it would have been easier to find a space for her, because we have extra beds in most of the rooms right now, because we used to be 70 sisters and now we are only 40. So we know we can make space. But after spending 1 month together, living together in the same room, we start to have a routine, everybody's feeling comfortable, and suddenly this kind of extra outside element needs to come in. And even though many of us, we've been practicing 10 years, 20 years, there's the feeling of resistance that comes up in us. So we all use loving speech. We said, yes, she could come to my room, but maybe she feels more comfortable in another room because, our room, we tend to open a window a lot in winter, and maybe it's too cold for her. And another sister will say, oh, yeah, she could come to my room, but, our room, this area tends to be kind of noisy, so maybe it's not really good for her. So this happens for some time. And eventually, we find the best room. Like, okay, this time this sister will go into that room, and we decide. And usually this happens every year. And in the end, everything's fine. We all practitioners. We all know how to live in harmony with each other. So in the end, we know that it's gonna be fine. But still, when the proposal is first presented, when we first hear this news, oh, there's somebody new coming in suddenly, and then there's the energy of resistance that comes up in us. So yeah, I also needed to practice with this recently, and I was observing my energy, and I also said, yes, she can come in, but maybe there's another space that's more suitable. But in the end, I said, okay, so in the end, she can come to my room, but then somehow things got rearranged. So I think in the end, she's not going to my room. I was contemplating on this experience and seeing this is, thanks to the practice, I can be aware. But if you are not practicing, this kind of thing happens on daily basis. We don't know why we are saying or why we are trying to reason things, come up with a story, why it should be like this, why I cannot do this, and so on. But it's all coming from this false sense of protecting the safety of a separate self. And when we can be aware of that, we can just switch the channel and say, you know what? Everything's okay. It's no problem. We can just open up and see. And that is one example of how we can slowly expand, take down this wall of comfort. And then, we don't have to do it suddenly. You don't have to go from here to here suddenly. You just do this gently, being kind to ourselves slowly, so that we can open up our mind and body and feel comfortable in any situation that we are given. And that makes it much easier to live out in the world. Mm-hmm. And nowadays, there are so many things outside of ourselves that we cannot control. But if you're always worrying about that, it's very tiring to live in this way. So if we can make ourselves be okay in any situation with any people, and then we can be more confident in living in harmony and with the solidity and freedom, no matter where we are. And concretely, if you want to challenge yourself, this is a practice that I also offer to our aspirants. Right now, I have the opportunity to give classes for the aspirants in New Hamlet. And when they first come into a community, it can be kind of scary because, like I shared earlier, you're living with 40 mother-in-laws, telling you this and that, or you should wear your scarf like this, or this clothes it's not really suitable as a monastic, and then so on and so forth. So for them to feel at home, to be rooted in the Sangha, in the community, I have been giving them the homework of consciously expanding their comfort zone. And by that, concretely, I invite them, 1 week, I invited them to, in the dining room, whenever we sit, find a place to sit in the dining room, try to find a table that you don't normally go to. So I think this is something as long-term practitioners here, if you're here already for a month or two, I think you already have your favorite corner. I also noticed some of you always sit in certain table. Some of you like to be by the window, and some of you like to be by the wall. and so on. So you can recognize, that is my comfort zone, and I want to challenge myself. By today, I'm going to sit in the very middle of the dining room. So you can challenge yourself with the physical space or with people. You enter the room, dining room, and you see different people sitting, and there are certain people you feel gravitated towards, people we feel comfortable, we're on friendly terms, and you want to go sit by them. But take a moment, take one deep breath, and try to find somebody that you normally avoid sitting with, and try to go sit with a person, or try to sit with somebody, a new friend you've never sat before. And as we eat together, since we are eating mindfulness, we don't have to talk to each other if you don't want to. But you can still offer each other a gentle smile from time to time and see how that feels. Maybe the person you thought was really scary is not so scary after all. So try to challenge like this. And also something you can do during your meal time is to try to serve some food that you don't normally take and see how that feels. Because food is also, it challenges our survival brain, right? So I think we all have a favorite food. Certain things we see, we take a lot. Some things like you never touch. Whatever it is, maybe it could be that the funny black, what do you call it? Cat ear mushroom. The gooey thing. And some of the friends say, what is this? So when you see something that is not familiar to you, you can try to serve, just a small piece, and you can contemplate on it, and you can eat and see how it feels. All these little things we can do in our daily life to expand our zone of comfort, so that we can feel at peace in different situations. Yeah, and also in the meditation hall too, when you come and listen to Dharma talk, I think you all, if you are here already for a month, you already have your favorite corner. Some of you always like to be in the back of the hall on a chair, ready to be the first one to go out of the door when it's finished. And some of you very diligently sitting in the front row. Yeah, so we can just see. You don't have to change right away, but just recognize that, yes, we cultivate these habits in our daily life in order to make ourselves feel comfortable. And most of the time, we're doing this without any awareness. So we just bring a little bit of energy of awareness, so we know why we do the things we do, the things we say. Okay, we can listen to one sound of the bell. So I think we're coming to the end of our time. It's 11:15, right? I cannot see. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so I think we will wrap up. So today we contemplated on how we can generate these qualities of hope and peace and joy and love for ourselves and love for each other. And this is something that we can continue to cultivate, to generate throughout this holiday season and beyond as practitioners of mindfulness. And this is a great gift that we can offer for ourselves and for our loved ones. And to re-emphasize on the theme of peace, we discuss a lot about how we can bring more peace to the world when there are wars happening. But the best place to start is really with ourselves and with our loved ones. I think we all have loved ones that we can have better relationship with. I think I asked all of you to contemplate at the beginning of this talk. So if you have somebody that you feel like you need to do a little bit of work of reconciliation, please do so at this holiday season. It's also a very good time to begin anew, to do any kind of reconciliation so that we can welcome the new year with freshness and lightness. I was really thinking about this morning as I received the news from one of our dear sisters. She just found out last night that her sister in the US, her younger sister in the US, was taken to ICU because of heart failure. And this morning we received the news that she passed away, and she was still very young. And sometimes we think we will always see each other again, and especially when somebody is younger than us, we don't contemplate. Maybe we contemplate about the passing of our parents and grandparents, people who are older than us, but we don't contemplate about people who are younger than us, our friends, our younger siblings, and our children. But we really don't know if you will still be able to see each other tomorrow. So life is very impermanent. So if there's somebody that you need to make a phone call to, or to write a love letter to express your love and gratitude to, please don't wait too long, and please do it right away, so we have nothing to regret when you no longer can see the other person in their physical form. And that is also something our Thai teacher, he used to ask his students to practice for his birthday, his continuation day. He said, the best gift, you want to give him something, and please go and reconcile with somebody. That is the greatest gift. And that's something we can also, it's a gift you can think of as offering to our dear teacher, whose memorial is coming up. The second memorial is coming up in January. So if you have a lot of gratitude in your heart for a teacher, for showing us this path, you can also think of this practice as an offering to our teacher and to all of our ancestors. And also to our descendants in the future. This is how we can build peace bit by bit in our practice. So thank you, dear Sangha, for listening this morning. Let us end with the 3 sounds of the bell.